Hello everyone. The topic for today's lecture is JSON. Let me get started by outlining the learning objectives. In today's lecture, we'll be learning the file format for JSON and how to parse or read content from JSON file format. For the first time, we'll be learning how to create JSON files. The reading for this particular material is chapter 16 of Swigart book. Let's get started by learning about JSON file format. Recall that CSV file format enables us to represent tabular data. When we read the contents of CSV files into Python, we'll be using the list of list data structure to represent each of the rows as inner lists. Let's consider an alternate data structure where we have dictionary of dictionaries. Why do we need such a data structure? When we want to keep track of scores for various players, the number of scores for individual player is going to vary based on the number of games played by that particular player, correct? That's how games are played practically. Instead of using inner list to represent player scores, we are going to represent each player details using a dictionary. Each of those dictionaries are going to have scores list, which is going to have varying length. How do we represent such a data structure as a file format? CSV files are not good when it comes to representing sparse tables. What exactly do I mean by sparse tables? Let's say that we are taking this data and populating that into a table. You're going to have four columns for scores, correct? The fourth column is going to have empty value for the Alice row entry because Alice only has 3 scores. A table where you have empty entries is called as a sparse table. Imagine creating a CSV file for a sparse table. Will you just keep saying comma, comma, comma where you have empty entries? That is highly inefficient. Instead, we are going to use the JSON file format. When you look at the Python dictionary of dictionary data structures on the left and the corresponding JSON file format on the right, what similarities are you able to observe? The JSON file format also uses curly braces to represent dictionaries. We are separating key and value within the dictionary using a colon. We are using square brackets to represent lists. Strings are within quotations. Integers look like integers. So let's learn more about the JSON format. First of all, you pronounce that particular word as JSON. It is a short form for JavaScript object notation. JSON is a file format that was tailored to a programming language called JavaScript. Even though JavaScript name sounds very similar to the programming language Java, JavaScript is more alike to Python. That's because JavaScript is a language for web development. Since JSON is tailored to JavaScript, wherever JavaScript differs with Python syntax, JSON is also going to differ with Python syntax. Let's learn about the differences between JavaScript and Python. For Boolean values, in Python we use true and false with capital T and capital F. In JSON and in JavaScript, we are going to use small case letters for T and F when it comes to Boolean values. Let's talk about no values. Majority of the programming languages have null to represent no values. Python is very different when it comes to that, where we use none to represent no values. When it comes to string quotations, Python supports both single and double quotations. JSON and JavaScript only support double quotations. Let's talk about trailing commas with respect to lists. Recall that in Python, you're allowed to include a trailing comma, and that makes no difference in terms of the number of items within the list. In JSON, trailing commas are not allowed. Let's talk about keys within the dictionaries. In Python, you can have integers or Boolean values or things like that for keys within the dictionary. In JSON and JavaScript, you're only allowed to have strings. So we'll have to typecast the values appropriately when we want to extract them as integers or any other types. Let's learn about parsing or reading data from JSON files. Recall that when we learnt about parsing or reading data from CSV, we considered the entire CSV's file content as one big string within the Python program. We are going to do the same for the JSON file as well. We are going to take this JSON file's content as one big string, and the parsing code is going to neatly format that particular JSON file's content for you. One difference between JSON file and CSV file is that you can have any kind of value within the JSON file, meaning you can just have an individual floating point value, a string, or a Boolean value, or you could have just a list, a dictionary of lists, or any kind of nested data structure representation along with the simple data types. So once we go through the parsing code, we are going to get the data into the appropriate format within the Python code, and we can use the analysis code to look up certain values within the original JSON file data. Let's go through example here. You're going to represent this particular JSON file as a dictionary because clearly you have a dictionary as you have open curly braces and close curly braces. Let's say that we are storing the result of parsing code into a variable called data. We can access the value corresponding to key Cindy by just mentioning data of Cindy here. Let's understand about the basic factors within reading or parsing JSON files. We are going to use a module called JSON, just like we use the module CSV for CSV parsing. Eventually, when we cover the concept of files, you'll understand how we are reading the data here. You can for now assume that this particular code snippet just parses the JSON file's content and gives you the corresponding data structure or data type representation within the Python code. You just need to copy paste this particular code snippet, which is going to enable you to read or parse data from JSON files. Let's talk about why we need two different representations. Why do we need data structures and files? First of all, the term for us to read a file's content into a data structure is called as parsing. We already know that. The opposite term is called serialization, which enables you to write the content of a data structure into a file format like CSV or JSON. Why not just have data structures? That's because data structures only live within the Python program. When you're done executing the Python program, your data within the data structure vanishes. That's because all of the data will be present in RAM or random access memory. Recall that RAM's data is volatile. Unless you store it in a permanent storage, you're going to lose the data within RAM after your program execution terminates. Even though RAM is very fast, it's not helpful with respect to permanent storage. Why not just have files and keep reading the data from files over and over again? File processing is extremely slow, so you should avoid reading data over and over from files at any cost. This is something which you're going to definitely need for future projects from P7 and P8. Do not keep reading the CSV or JSON files data over and over again. You should only have one function call to process underscore CSV or the read underscore JSON function. Once you store the return value of the function call into a variable, keep that variable permanently. Do not use that variable for something else within your program so that you can keep accessing the data within the file using those variables. Let me reiterate, you should not read the file's contents over and over again. If you do that, your project will not pass the auto grader. So take this as a hint and read the file's contents only once. So that's why we have both data structures and files, because file processing is really slow and data structures are not permanent. Let's talk about writing JSON files. We are going to perform the opposite process when it comes to writing or serialization. We are going to take the data structure from the Python program and we'll be using the serialization code in order to write the data structure into JSON file format. For example, we only have a dictionary which contains the key as Cindy and the value is 15 here. When you write that, you're simply going to get that particular notation in JSON file. So with respect to writing JSON files as well, we'll only be worrying about copy pasting the serialization code snippet, which is creating a function called write underscore JSON. When it comes to reading JSON files, you're going to pass only one argument to your function. That's going to be the path to your JSON file. Whereas with respect to writing JSON files, you're going to pass two arguments. The first one is going to be the path of the file to which you want to write the data, and the second one is going to be the data structure or the variable which represents your data within your Python program. I'll wrap up this video here. In the next video, we'll be going through demo problem for sum. Let me switch quickly to the browser window which has the course website open. Go to the JSON lecture entry as part of the schedule page. Click on the code link. You'll be able to see a template program for two different demo problems. The first one is sum underscore template.py. The second one is record underscore template.py. Please make sure to download both of these to follow along with the lecture demos.